Alright guys, we are here with the truck now. Gonna go ahead and start gathering up all my tools that I will need to take this cylinder head off. And real quick before we get into the video, don't forget to press like, and if you want to support the channel, go ahead and press that subscribe button for me, and you guys will help me reach my next goal of 300 subscribers. I also made a custom impact gun little bracket thing to mount my phone to it, so if you guys dig it, let me know. I'll just keep using it. Alright, let's get to wrenching. Okay, so now we basically removed everything we need to on this side. That could stay, just need to take the bolts off, and then you gotta remove that line. It'll just make things easier. Turbo could stay, just gotta remove the 4 bolts, and these lines help just to remove until you get to the bolt there. This water manifold setup, just gotta loosen it up, just like that. Then the thermostat. That's basically it for this side. And one helpful tip, do not forget to remove the coolant temp sensor. Then on this side, remove the fuel line here. Remove this bolt here for the fuel injector harness. We'll pull this off in a little bit. Then we have the grid heater. Put that there for now. And then the intake sensor, compressor pipe. that'll be in the way, so take it off and move it to the side. Any other connections or lines that are bolted onto the head, like this one, that's loose already. And then that's it for here on this side. Now we're going to remove the rear engine cover, and then we'll start removing everything on the back. So let's just go inside the truck and get to removing that rear engine cover. So to remove the rear engine cover on these trucks, it does kind of suck, but we will have to remove the cup holders and then this trim panel here. There'll be 2 hidden screws here, and I believe there's one here. We'll have to peel the carpet back, and then we are going to have to remove these here. It'll just help us peel the carpet back when we need to. So let me just get my tools and we'll take this off. So this truck is a bit clapped out, but to remove the cup holders, just 1 screw here. This one's already missing. 1 right there. And then there'll be 1 hidden underneath there in that hole. And then you got 2 over here, which those 2 are missing as well. Then we're just gonna grab the carpet and peel it back here. There's a hidden plastic screw here that we gotta take off. And just like that, that's what it looks like. And it goes right there. Then we can take this off. All right, now that we remove the little trim pieces that go here and over here, we'll be able to pull the carpet back. And then we just gotta kind of manhandle this down like that. Once you are past this lip, you just want to put your thumbs here and just manhandle it, shake it, it'll eventually pop off. That. Fold the carpet back down. All right. And just like that. Okay, now that we are in the back, we're gonna go ahead and start removing everything that's gonna be in the way, like the harness. We'll unclip that and just kind of push it out the way. We'll remove this coolant line here, and we will also remove the fuel line here, EGR valve oil line, and then this coolant crossover. And then when you guys disconnect these cables, you want to make sure you don't accidentally cross them, because the cam can plug into the EGR valve sensor. So you want to make sure you label them, or just don't forget where they plug in, because it is possible to accidentally cross these plugs that are back here on the engine. Okay. And once you have everything off, it should look something like this. These are the parts I removed. Just a couple tins, cam position sensor, this bracket, and then we got the coolant line that was here, and the fuel line is loose now. Just gonna go ahead and remove the upper and the valve cover spacer, and then we could remove this rear upper timing cover. So let's go do that. Now that we have the upper and the lower valve cover, we're gonna go ahead and remove the injector harness, disconnect it from every injector, and then we got to push it through this hole here. And now that we removed the upper valve cover and the valve cover spacer, now we can easily remove the rear upper timing cover. So this is a older engine, so it uses a 12 millimeter. I believe the newer D13s will be a 10, but very similar design. So we'll get these bolts. And one more. We're gonna work on taking off the rocker shaft. Start off with taking the engine brake valve. And then, of course, you want to stay organized. So I got myself some bolt trace. And this comes off pretty easy. Just shake and pull, just like that. And once we got that off, take off these springs. And then you want to be careful not to drop any of these because they are small. We're almost there. My camera doesn't fit back there. I'm going to take it off real quick and then I'll mount it back on. Alright, and when it's time to remove the rocker shaft, as you can see, it's 2 bolts in the middle until you get to the end. There's only one. When you take off this rocker shaft, you want to remove just one to start off. Once you remove just one and you leave that one in the back, you're going to alternate between each bolt and slowly lift the rocker shaft up. If you start removing just bolts all randomly, it is possible to bend the rocker shaft, so you don't want to do that. So like I said, we're just going to remove just one of the bolts. Make sure you get your trace. You don't want to lose your bolts. And then after that, we'll slowly start alternating between all of the bolts, whichever way you want to go, and just slowly walk the rocker shaft up. Now we got all the bolts. Let me get the tool so we can lift this rocker shaft off. So this is my tool that I have here. I just made this out of steel and just some random nuts to act as spacers. And then I have my bolts with a little T on top, just so I can easily tighten them down. So let me set this tool on top, tighten down the bolts, and then we'll use the forklift and just pick this thing out. So it just sits on top, and then I just tighten these bolts down. And then when we lift the rocker shaft up, you just want to be careful because these little bridges like to fall off, and you don't want one falling down there in the darkness. There we go. Just leave it on this bench. Now we'll work on removing the camshaft. Now we're going to grab these intake and exhaust bridges and just put them somewhere where we won't lose them. And if you guys are curious about the orientation, the oval side will go out towards the driver's side. If you go this way, you risk bending the valve, so make sure you put these in the right direction like that. So one thing that I like to do before I put the engine in TDC, that way we have our correct timing when we take the camshaft off, there is a couple 10 millimeter screws back here that go from the gear plate to the cylinder head. All of them are visible except one. We are going to have to put this bigger hole on this idler gear, and we're going to have to put this big hole somewhere along the lines of like 10 to 11 o'clock, somewhere in this area here. But like I said, we're going to spin the engine over and get one of the big holes somewhere in this area here, because there is a hidden 10 millimeter screw that we need to remove. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to remove that 10 that's hidden, and then once I remove that 10 millimeter bolt that's hidden, I'm going to set the engine back to TDC, and then we can start the process of removing the cam gear and the camshaft. So I am almost to that screw I'm talking about. We're gonna line up this big hole somewhere along the lines here. I'm going to use a little mirror, and like that I'll be able to tell how far up I need to go. And remove it. And you want to be very careful that you don't accidentally drop it in there, because if you do, you're going to have to take everything off in the back of the engine. And this is what that 10mm looks like. So now that we got this 10 in that hidden spot, we're gonna go ahead and spin the engine over again to TDC. That way we are in time before we remove the camshaft. All right, now we're here in the back. Okay, I was right, it's a 14. You want to be careful not to drop the cam gear on accident. It does weigh a little bit, but it's not too bad. So we'll get all of these bolts here. And then I like to use this little crater here to hold bolts. These bolts, however, are only one-time use, so you could just throw these away. But for now, I'll just put them here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this here. And before we pop this cam gear off, it doesn't hurt to mark the gear. That way we know 100% that it goes back in the same spot. So I like to do something like that, and we're good to go. And let's just say you were to not mark the gear, you don't really have to worry about anything, because the cam gear actually has these two little divots that just so happen to line up with hole in the gear plate that's there. So again, don't worry if you didn't mark your cam gear. I just do it just so I can sleep better at night, I guess. But the cam gear has these two little dots that line up with that hole in the gear plates. Have the cam gear off. We're gonna go ahead and remove these little 10mm screws. There's one there, one there, one there, and there's two here. And luckily we already removed that one hidden one, so we don't gotta worry about having to turn the engine over to get that. That's why it's always a good idea to do this first before you remove the camshaft. And just like that, we got the 4 bolts removed. Technically, you could remove all of them. However, you might mess with the backlash too much, or once you go all back together, you might not even have to adjust it at all. So it's always worth the shot. Just leave this adjustable gear alone. Maybe when you go back together, you won't even have to adjust the backlash. Just gotta keep your fingers crossed. However, if the backlash is too tight or it's too loose, you will have to loosen these and remove them, replace them, and readjust the backlash. Let's go ahead and remove the camshaft caps, remove the camshaft, and then we can work on removing the head bolts. All right, removing these cam caps can be a little bit tricky. I already went ahead and removed all of them but one. Sometimes it just needs a little persuasion. I usually will shock the side of this, right there where there's a little bit of extra meat. I usually will just tap this in a upward direction, and then just back and forth, and it should come off. There we go, just like that. And then don't forget to leave the bearing with the cap, that way it goes back in its original position, or you can go ahead and replace them. Someone's been here before, and I can tell because these bearings are basically brand new. So this is basically what I do. I just use some really thick zip ties. I've always done it like this and I've never had a problem. You could use a fancy metal hooking tool that usually goes in between the lobes, but I've just done it like this. to get this camshaft out of the way, and then we will start working on getting the head bolts. We're gonna start removing all of the head bolts. My little DeWalt is not strong enough to do that, so we're gonna have to resort to good old Harbor Freight earthquake. All right, guys, we got all of the head bolts off. They're all in this box. And now I put my one-of-a-kind head bracket. It's just a piece of steel, and then I just double stacked, oh, it looks like triple stacked some lug nuts and welded them together as a spacer. Went to the hardware store and I bought 4 long bolts that thread into the valve cover holes. And then I had this big old hook laying around, chain. All I need is a forklift. So let me get set up. I'm gonna get the forklift and let's lift this head out. So I'm just gonna put you guys here just so you could enjoy the show. I think you'll be fine right there. All right, guys, we officially have the cylinder head off of the engine. As you can see, it's just dangling around. I'm gonna go ahead and call my coworker because it is a bit of a tight fit coming out. That's all we had to do to take the cylinder head off. Not too bad. I've done so many of these, it's just a walk in the park for me, really. We're gonna end the video off here now. I'm sure the video's long enough now. You guys can see the cylinder head is off. All I need to do is just guide it out and put it on the bench. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video on removing the Volvo D13 cylinder head. If you guys are looking for more Volvo content, don't forget to press that thumbs up button, and also don't forget to press that subscribe button. Before we end the video, again, thanks to each and one of you that have subscribed to my channel. You guys are really helping me out by growing my page more, and you guys are also motivating me to create more videos just like this one here. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video on removing the cylinder head. Stay tuned for the next video, and again, thanks to each and one of you. Peace out.